Welcome into First Pitch for Wednesday, May 4th. I am Drew Martin, joined by Ariel Epstein and Adam Trigger of WagerTalk.com. We're breaking down tonight's slate. We got a lot of day baseball, but a solid night slate. We're going to get some winners out to you. First up, going around the horn here, Ariel Epstein, at Ariel Epstein on Twitter, the prop queen by some, MLB Network, Yahoo Sports. Ariel, welcome in. How you feeling?
I'm feeling great, Drew Martin Bets. I'm excited for this Major League Baseball slate. There's a ton of day games. There's also a decent slate of night games. Let's pick some winners.
Let's get after it. We got Adam Trigger, Korean Adam by some. Follow him on Twitter at TopFlightSI. Check him out at WagerTalk.com. Adam, welcome in, buddy.
What's going on, Drew? Also excited to talk MLB with you guys, as I always am. I do have a Korean baseball play up for tonight that I like quite a bit. That's the only thing I have up for sale today. Any Major League Baseball we'll talk about on the show. So yeah, can't wait.
Let's get after it. We got the Minnesota Twins, Baltimore Orioles. First game up here, Ariel. It's a little Bundy versus Badish face-off in terms of starting pitchers here. 7 p.m. Eastern. We're seeing minus 145 with the Minnesota Twins. Not a whole lot of movement here looking at the Wager Talk odds screen. 7.5 being the total, Ariel. We've seen Minnesota rattle off 11 of their last 12. One of the hottest teams in baseball here. What are you liking in Camden Yards tonight?
I'm looking at a strikeout prop, and that's the over 3.5 strikeouts on the Minnesota Twins right-hander, Dylan Bundy. I like his over because Baltimore has the second highest K rate in baseball and the 7th highest against right-handers. In fact, righties, they are averaging just under 5 strikeouts per start when up against the Orioles. That's a little bit over this average of 3.5 for the strikeout prop. Bundy has gone over this number. He had 7 strikeouts against Tampa Bay in his last start. He had 6 strikeouts against Boston. So he's done it in 2 out of his 4 starts this season. The other 2 games, the Chicago White Sox and the Seattle Mariners. The White Sox and the Mariners are 2 of the most or the least strikeout-prone teams in baseball. The White Sox and the Mariners have bottom 10 K rates. Most pitchers go under their strikeout prop when up against those 2 teams. I like the matchup for Bundy here. The number of 3.5 is too low. It's lower than the average for right-handers against the Orioles this season. Give me the over 3.5 strikeouts on the starter for the Twins, Dylan Bundy.
All right, liking the strikeout prop to the over for the away team there in the Twins. Trig, coming to you next, man. I mean, we talked about it at the top here. The Twins, a hot team. They're getting good starts from really a lot of their rotation here. Also, side note, they're 18-3 their last 21 versus Baltimore. I mean, it makes me look towards the Twins. I don't know. You think it's worth it? Minus 145?
No, I wouldn't lay that number with the Twins. Listen, Drew, there's no question the Twins are playing out of their minds. Okay, they're red hot. That's indisputable at this point. I don't know if I buy that long term from this team. They've gotten just insane effort top to bottom from their pitching staff. Most notably, their starting pitching, which is probably okay on paper, but I don't think it's this good. I don't think Dylan Bundy's this good. You know, this is a guy that had a 6 ERA last season. If you throw out that short in 2020 season where I don't put a ton of stock into those numbers, 4.79 in 2019, 5.45 in 2018. Always felt like Dylan Bundy was a little overvalued based on his draft status, right? He was a first rounder back in 2011, ton of hype, missed a bunch of years when he was younger with an injury, and then came back, and he was part of those good Orioles teams in the middle of the last decade that were good for reasons other than pitching. So I always felt like he was a little overvalued. I think the real Dylan Bundy is more what we saw the last couple of years when he was with the Angels, you know, a mid-4 to high-4 ERA type guy. Orioles, this Kyle Bradish, so this is his second Major League Baseball start, Drew. He went to New Mexico State, one of your favorite colleges, Las Cruces, New Mexico. You know, he looked good in his debut. Yeah, he looked good in his debut over the weekend. Solid quality start against the Red Sox. I obviously love that the Twins haven't seen him. You know, the Orioles haven't seen a ton of Bundy, but they know him well, right? He was in their organization for the majority of his career. I had a nice little run going with the Orioles. I took them plus 1.5 for best bets on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Cashed all of those. Got caught going back to the well one too many times. I had him last night, and it looked great until the 6th inning when the Orioles bullpen finally blew up. But going into play yesterday, that Orioles bullpen had a 1.4 WAR second best in the league. I still think the Orioles are a little undervalued. So the way I would look at this, Orioles plus 1.5, it's only minus 140. And if that improves and that gets down to minus 135, minus 130 later in the day, I'll probably add it as an actual client play.
Okay, and guys, the plus 1.5, it's been hitting at a solid rate. More so for the away teams, Trig. Do you factor that into your handicap? Baltimore playing at home plus 1.5. Is it still as valuable to you as, say, if they were on the road?
Oh, well, I'll tell you right now, Drew, if this was plus 1.5, minus 140 on the road, I would have already bet it. For the reason, when you can back a road team plus 1.5, you're forcing the opponent to beat you by margin, essentially in 8 at-bats. The only way they win getting 9 at-bats is if they walk it off with a 2-run or 3-run or grand slam. So when you have the home team, and especially with the new extra inning rules, it takes a little bit of the value away from the plus 1.5. But I still think it would be the way to play this game because the Orioles have stayed in games. Their bullpen is solid, much better than people are giving them credit for. So it's on my radar. I have not officially bet that yet, but certainly looking at Orioles plus 1.5 is one of the better bets on the board today.
Okay, good stuff, Trig. And Ariel, I got a question for you before we get to the next game, because the Orioles, the only AL East team we're talking. What about your Yankees? I mean, the hottest team in baseball, up against the Jays, a really important series. Did you like anything real quick in that one? And what's your overall thoughts here of the AL East as we're past the 20-game mark? I mean, any surprises?
The Yankees in the last 11 games have surely been a surprise. I'm one of the most, let's see, what's the nice way to say it? I guess I am a really big pessimist when it comes to watching the New York Yankees. They get hot every year. They go on one of these crazy win streaks. Then they cool down. You got to hope as a Yankees fan that they can get to the ALCS. It always seems like you get really excited at playoff time for the Yankees and then they let you down. I'm trying not to get too pumped. However, today is National Kikuchi Day, and you've got Yusei Kikuchi on the mound up against the Yankees. Whenever Kikuchi is pitching, it's I hate saying automatic fade. Just make it one of those look at it fades. I'll probably back the Yankees on the money line. It was minus 130 earlier. Now it's already up to minus 140, minus 145. Everyone I know who I trust in baseball, everyone fades Kikuchi. I'll probably be doing it. I usually hate betting on the Yankees just because I'd rather hedge my happiness than double up on it. However, it's Kikuchi Day. We fade them. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go bet the Yankees money line, Drew.
All right, I like it, Ariel. Not to mention the trend is your friend, and the Yankees, hottest team in baseball, looking that way tonight. Let's head out a little further west, up to the Rockies here. We get the Washington Nationals at the Colorado Rockies, Trig. We're seeing Patrick Corbin versus Gomber, two lefties going at it a mile high, mostly minus 140 to minus 145, even as high as minus 150 on the Rocks at home. Double-digit total here, 10.5 in 2022. Run suppression, maybe not tonight, a mile high. What are you liking here, Nats and Rocks?
Well, Drew, I don't know that I really like anything here, to be perfectly honest with you. But if I was forced to bet it, I don't know if there's any way I can lay this number with the Rockies. They're just a team that, offensively, they're right up at the top of the league in many offensive categories. Now, that could remain like this. If the Rockies get to the end of the season and they're one of the better offensive teams in the league, I can buy that. What I don't think will happen is the Rockies pitching continuing the trajectory that they're on so far this year. They've gotten far better pitching out of both starters and bullpen than I ever imagined they could to this point. And so, last night, maybe that's the start of it, right? They give up 10 runs. I think there's 10 runs on 16 hits for Rockies pitching last night, which is definitely a concern. I think the bullpen, which was up at the top of the National League for most of April, is probably going to regress. Now, Gomber's been decent, but 3 of his 4 starts are on the road. So we'll see how he does at Coors Field here. Although in limited exposure at Coors Field, he's been pretty good. I guess it comes down to I just don't know if I want to lay this price with the Rockies. Patrick Corbin's not the guy the Nats thought they were getting when they traded for him a couple years back, or when they signed him for a couple years back. But on a given day, he's still pretty good. He was solid in his last start. I think he struck out 8, walked 2, made it 6 innings, maybe 2 runs. And the Nationals, they may be getting hot, if you will, Drew. They could win 3 games in a row for the first time this season. Josh Bell is on fire. He hit a ball last night that I thought was a pop up to the left fielder. It went out of the stadium. So if the ball is going to carry like that again, you probably want the team that's in form hitting, which of course the Rockies have certainly up until yesterday have been hitting all year. So I don't know, maybe some runs here. I like the price on the Nationals, but I just don't like this Nationals team enough to be confident backing them on the road at Coors Field. So I could see some runs again, like we saw last night. If you force me to, I'd take the plus money, but I really don't have much in this game.
Okay, fair enough. And Ariel, coming to you next, doing some research. I was looking towards the over as well, and Trig pointed at that. But, Gomber is actually, he's got kind of these tricky stats where a lot of Rockies starters, have been better at home than on the road. And sure enough, his OPS against in a limited sample size is 250 points less when he's pitching in Coors. It's kind of a weird stat there, but hey, it looks to be 50 degrees, 10 mile an hour is blowing in. That's what kept me off of the over, but tricky handicap here, Ariel. What are you thinking, Nats and Rocks?
I'm going with the under on Austin Gomber's strikeout prop of 3.5. It seems like a low number. The lefty for Colorado, as you mentioned, his stats could look better at home. The thing is, when he's on the road, he's thrown more strikeouts. His only start where he's gone under this number of 3.5 was at Coors Field, and he was up against the Chicago Cubs. Washington, although they've had a down year, they are one of the lowest K rate teams in baseball. They have the second lowest K rate against left-handed pitchers. In fact, lefties are 2-4 over under their strikeout prop this year, went up against Washington, and they're averaging just over 3 strikeouts per start. I was concerned because I saw Gomber's gone over this number in 3 of his 4 starts. Like I mentioned, though, 3 out of those 4 starts were all on the road. It's a very different story when you're playing at Coors Field. Every pitcher, especially away pitchers, I usually don't look at the home pitcher. Away pitchers are pitchers I like to look at Coors Field who tend to drop in about 1 to 2 by about 1 to 2 strikeouts off their normal average. It's just something about the air in Coors Field. Everyone thinks about overs and home runs. I'm looking at unders on strikeout props. This time, I'm going with the team pitcher, and that's Austin Gomber of 3.5 strikeouts.
Yeah, guys, Ariel knows her strikeout props. Obviously, you hear her analysis here, which you can hear it every single Wednesday on the WagerTalk YouTube channel. Also, Mid-Major Matt at sportsmemo.com. He was one that pointed me on this in terms of the away pitchers in Coors Field, their strikeout prop to the under. Ariel, I know you know Matt very well. I mean, you two know the strikeout prop market as good as anybody in the industry, in my opinion. Is that something you're looking to bet? Or, not, I don't want to say like blindly bet, but the away team starting pitcher strikeout prop to the under in Coors Field, is that something you have circled?
Usually, yes. However, today I'm not betting it because the Washington Nationals have Patrick Corbin on the mound. Looking at what Corbin did, first of all, the over on 3.5 is heavily juiced at minus 154. Usually I do look to the under. However, last year he went to Coors Field and he threw 9 strikeouts. If I see that you've had previous success at Coors, then maybe you're one of the few pitchers that does well in Colorado. He's coming off an 8 strikeout game against Miami. He had 4 against Pittsburgh and San Francisco, 3 against Atlanta, and 4 against the Mets. He's right there on the cusp. I could see him having 4 or 5 strikeouts in this game easy. I'm not going to bet a 3.5 on a pitcher that does tend to strike out batters well and has had a previous history at Coors Field of playing well. Now, if you've told me that there's another pitcher who's going to be going who has struggled at Coors Field before, or he's not really a strikeout pitcher, then I'm going to go look to his under no matter what it is. If it's 3.5, I'll probably stay betting unders 2.5. You'll see some of those pop up at Coors Field. Those are too low for me, though, Drew.
Yeah. It's always a little bit tough to go when they're that low. But guys, we got one game left. We got best bets at the end. We're going to quick hit a couple as well. But let's first get to the nightcap. We got NL matchup, NL West here, the San Francisco Giants and the LA Dodgers area. We're seeing Alex Wood on the hill, of course, coming from the left side there, the former Georgia Bulldog versus Gonsolin going for the Dodgers. And we're seeing minus 140 to minus 150, 7.5 here. Late night, if somebody needs a little late night degenerate special, you like anything here, Giants and Dodgers, Ariel?
I'll be honest, Drew, the Dodgers didn't announce Tony Gonsolin as their starter until about, I don't know, a couple of hours ago. So I didn't really get a chance to fully cap this game. I don't like to give out bets that I don't have yet. I've got another game on my mind that I'd like to touch on. However, for this one, I still have to take a look at it before I can give anything out.
Fair enough. And Trig, anything here late night? Did you want to throw out to the watchers?
I'm with Ariel on that. I didn't have enough info on Giants Dodgers, so I think if it's okay with you, I think we're going to talk Rangers Phillies, because that is one.
It's more than
we both kind of. Yeah.
And we can set it up here. We got the Texas Rangers, Philadelphia Phillies.
Perfect.
It's looks minus 170. We're seeing the Phillies. Of course, the Rangers been a sharp bet really all season long. So I'll throw it back to you, Trig. What do you like in Rangers and Phils?
Well, Drew, you nailed it. They sharp baseball market seems to bet the Rangers on a daily basis, and that's, I usually agree. Well, I try to find the sharp money that I agree with, generates a lot of my bets. In this case, all year I haven't quite figured out what the love affair is with the Rangers, but there's without a doubt this gets hit like on an almost daily basis, where you see Rangers open up and then it's a instant 10-cent move or more. You could point to the fact that they made some nice moves in the offseason, so they're obviously better than they were last year. And then you have guys like Marcus Semien who haven't really played the potential yet. I don't disagree with the Rangers being potentially better than they were the last couple of years. But here, I don't know. It feels like the Phillies are just like on the cusp of breaking out. They really beat themselves last night. A bad error, which has been an issue for them, right? Like the only teams worse than the Phillies defensively this year are the Nats, Reds, and surprisingly the White Sox. But the Nats and Reds should come as no surprise, two of the worst teams in the league. And I don't love betting on teams that beat themselves that frequently, which the Phillies certainly have. The other thing the Phillies have had a real problem with lately is hitting with runners in scoring position, but you can kind of look at that two ways. One being, okay, they're awful with runners in scoring position, or they're getting runners on, they're just not getting the timely hit, and that's going to sort of start to come just by the law of averages, right? Like you keep getting guys on base, sooner or later you're going to get a hit with guys on base and produce some runs. So I still like Wheeler better than Perez, and the Phillies have hit Perez, so in the past. So I slightly lean the Phillies here. Not an ideal price. And the Rangers, the constant Rangers money does scare me a little bit. But it feels like a spot the Phillies probably bounce back. So slight lean toward the Phils. I'd like to see if Harper's in the lineup. Castellanos is probably out. So two things to keep in mind. But it feels like a spot where the Phillies bounce back.
Ariel, we got Perez, Wheeler, Rangers, Phillies. What are you thinking here?
This is my fishy line of the day. This line moved 10 cents in favor of the Rangers, despite majority of the action coming in on the Phillies. Zach Wheeler, when he's at home, he's much better than he is on the road. I wish this game was in Texas because I would have faded Wheeler right away. It's either Texas or stay away, though, for me, because this probably is moving money-wise because the Phillies have struggled offensively. They're hitting They're hitting 167 with runners in scoring position in their last 6 games. The Phillies can't score with runners in scoring position. They're really struggling to do it. In addition to Wheeler's velocity being down on his fastball from 97 to 95 miles an hour, he does have a slider and a sinker that he's been using a lot more than he did last year. Hitters are doing really poorly against him with those two pitches, hitting 194. The problem is that against the rest of his repertoire, hitters are hitting 568 against him. Texas could have the opportunity to hit any of these fastballs that Wheeler could throw at him, in addition to them having a pretty good pitcher in Martin Perez on the mound, who's only allowed 1 run through his last 13 innings pitched. That's across his last 2 starts. Perez is a decent option to be backing for Texas. If you want to go take a flyer on a dog today, the Texas Rangers should be on your list.
I second that, Ariel. I like the Rangers here. I bet them personally, guys. Big plus price. Speaking of Wheeler, Ariel hit on it. Velocity's down. That's kind of a sharp bet. We've seen the market kind of gravitate towards fading guys that have their velocity tick down. His is down like 2 miles per hour from last season. And yes, the pitch mix, which was a great point by Ariel, but he did have his walks are elevated. He had 4 walks last time out. So that's what makes me look towards Texas. And to her point as well, Perez on the hill, he's been pretty good. Last time out, 7 innings, 1 earned run against the Stros. So I'm backing the Rangers, guys. Big plus price here. And to Trig's point, they've been a sharp bet taking money. So a near plus 150, looking at the WagerTalk odds screen right now, it is about that. We're seeing plus 145 to plus 150. So high water mark plus 150. I would look towards the Rangers as well. Let's make it a show bet there where we can agree on it. We got best bets at the end, guys. Final thoughts. Huge shout out to the chat box. We got Paco Healy in the house saying prop queen. C James looking towards the over late night in the Padres and the Dodgers game. We got Jeff in the house. All you guys, welcome in. Thanks for chiming in. Feel free to reply below, guys, in the reply section on the WagerTalk YouTube channel. We're going live each and every Monday through Friday, each and every day throughout the week, 2 p.m. Eastern time. So best bet time. We can go around the horn here at Ariel Epstein on Twitter, Prop Queen. Check her out, MLB Network, Yahoo Sports as well. And on Wednesdays, right here on the WagerTalk YouTube channel, First Pitch. Ariel, got anything for final thoughts for the show? And where are you going for best bets?
Final thoughts. I'm going to be betting the Yankees money line. If it loses, I'm going to be extremely mad and never bet on the Yankees again, because then I'll just be double upset. Anyway, that's not my best bet. My best bet is going with the Minnesota Twins right-hander Dylan Bundy over 3.5 strikeouts. He's up against the Baltimore Orioles, a team that has the second highest K rate in baseball. Pitchers are averaging just under 5 strikeouts per start when up against the Orioles this year. Bundy has gone over the number before the season in 3 out of his 4 starts. Give me the over 3.5 strikeouts on Dylan Bundy tonight.
All right. Good luck with that, Ariel. I'll be tailing you. We got the Colorado Rockies minus 140, guys. That's going to be my best bet. Looks like it's ticked up a little bit since the show started, near minus 142. But Gomber, he's actually been better a mile high. The former FAU Owl here. His OPS against is 250 points better. Small sample size, but still, it's something I like to bet at Coors Field. And we get Patrick Corbin, a 900 OPS against in Coors Field, 19 earned runs and 19 innings year to date, minus 140. We get the Rocks at home. Remember, guys, home road splits with the Rockies last year, the biggest drastic difference in it. They were good at home, bad on the road. I'm looking to bet them at home, minus 140, 8:40 Eastern, Rockies for my best bet. Adam Trigger at Top Flight SI. Check him out at wagertalk.com. Trig, I didn't get a chance to do it earlier in the show, man. What do we got going on the other side of the world in Korean baseball? Because some people like to call him Korean Adam. I do anyway, because he's really good at betting the KBO over there. So, yeah, man, take it away. Any little things you want to throw out there with KBO, and where are you going for your best bet, buddy?
Yeah, so I'll start with KBO. There's a very interesting angle in KBO this week that I think you guys will get a kick out of. So the NC Dinos are in last place right now. They're the 2020 KBO champions. Last year, they didn't fare as well. This year, they were expected to be right up in the mix, but they're in dead last. And it's kind of been a disaster for them. So last year, probably about halfway through the season, they got a bunch of, I think 4 of their players got suspended for something like 70 games. And the reason was they went out and partied during COVID and got COVID and got caught doing it. And Drew Martin bets they don't mess around with COVID in Korea, apparently, because they dished out like 70 game suspensions to the point where these guys are just coming back this week.
Oh my God!
They're starters, so they're key players. On Monday, the league-wide off day, NC 9-19 in dead last place. 2 of their coaches got into a bar fight, and a big bar fight where there were battery charges levied against them, and I think they got booted off the team. So you want to talk about a team in disarray? They're 9-19. They've had guys missing for huge suspensions because they decided to throw a hotel party during COVID last year. And now they got coaches fighting each other at 4 a.m. in the bar, getting kicked off the team. All that being said, this is like 3 or 4 starters that come back this week for NC. Tomorrow, they're minus 130 against Samsung. I think you're going to start seeing NC win some games going forward. So the NC Dinos, now that they're getting a couple of these guys back, might be a sharp bet going forward in the KBO. My best bet for the show in Major League Baseball is going to be the Baltimore Orioles plus 1.5. I've been on a little run with them until yesterday, but I think that's the best thing that I see thus far for the later games. I still think that the Orioles are going to take a game in this series. I think the Twins on the road are going to be a good fade. You know, if you look at their home road splits the last couple of years, they've been really tough at Target Field, but on the road they're a sub 500 team. And even up until earlier this week, they were a 500 team. They happened to win the first couple games of the series with the Orioles. But I just can't see that last. Like, I can't see everyone on the Twins playing out of their minds all simultaneously for very much longer. You know, here you have the Orioles who have been better at home. Their bullpen's solid. If this comes down, if the betting public continues to hammer away at the Twins here, and all of a sudden I can get plus 1.5 on the Orioles for minus 130, I'll probably add it as a client play. For now, it's just the best thing I see on the board. So Baltimore Orioles plus 1.5. I wouldn't be surprised if they got the W here. I'm not high on Bundy. I still think the kid on the Orioles that's making his second major league start is good, and the Twins haven't seen him. So I'll roll with Orioles plus 1.5 for my show best bet for baseball tonight.
Yeah, plus 1.5 there with the O's at home. Trig, you know, you bring up 70 games in the KBO, man. You're right. They take it serious there in Korea. Do you remember? I think his name was Zach Plesac for the Cleveland Indians. He was partying during. Do you remember what his Ariel or Trig, what his suspension was?
I think he have like. I feel like he had like friends or something like brought in. I know there was like a car service or he went to a party or something like an hour away, and that was right.
It was also right on the cusp. It was right on the cusp of when they were deciding to trade him or Mike Clevenger. They ended up trading away Clevenger. Yep. Both of them got in trouble though because I think they both left their hotel rooms when they weren't supposed to. Yeah, that one was interesting. The thing is, I think he missed, I want to say 2 starts. I'm not 100% sure though. I do remember that I was covering it all on like when I was working at my other job, and I was thinking, wow, this is a hot mess. And I thought for sure that they were going to trade Plesac, and they ended up trading Clevenger away. But it was going to be one of their 2.
Yeah, it's interesting to see the difference, though. Like 70 games in what, like about 2 starts or something. Yeah, they didn't. Well, Drew, they're not messing around there over
they
in
did,
Korea.
And that's one of, they don't mess around there. And that's one of the big reasons that back in 2020, when no other sports were going on, they were able to get the league going like in early May because they had such strict protocols. But yeah, last year it was still a big issue, and a bunch of guys got caught partying, and it cost them the rest of their season and all of this year up till this point. They all come back this week. So an NC Dinos should be better than they have been going forward. Probably can just, find value betting them almost every day from this point.
On the other side of the world, guys, check them out, WagerTalk.com. If you're looking for some KBO, we got C. James with the comment of the day. KBO is awesome to watch. The announcers sound like they just pounded a 6-pack of Red Bull before they're calling the game. I like it, C. James. Guys, the best bets in recap, if we got it. Not sure if we do. Yep, Rockies money line, minus 140 for me. Orioles plus 1.5, minus 130 for Trig. And Ariel, Dylan Bundy, over 3.5 strikeouts, Baltimore Orioles. That Orioles game versus Badish and the Minnesota Twins. So good stuff, guys. Trig, Ariel, bringing the heat here. Check us out, WagerTalk.com. Next Wednesday, Ariel will be back as well. Feel free to reply below. Any questions, fire them out. Best of luck. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. Thanks for tuning in.